Kvaratskhelia steadying himself! A star in the making. And there's the only goal! Sabiri with it! After 11 years, once again, Milan are the champions of Italy.
Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to Serie A Sitdown, World Football Index's podcast for your Calcio to go. I'm Frank Crivello, and we're a three-man crew officially. Richard Carmen and Alex Dono. That introductory video overwhelmed him so much he needed to take a holiday, and then now he's fresh. He's fresh and ready to go. Ciao, boys. How we doing tonight?
Well, I don't have another long vacation scheduled until late March, so I'm going to get Juan Denara, my agent, to negotiate the next vacation.
Right on.
Excellent.
Right on.
Excellent. Richard, how we doing, man?
Good. Drinking a little scotch tonight because, we're a party tonight. I'm good. Overall, good. Can't complain.
I'm enjoying juice packets, an IPA from...
Steal it from your kids?
What's that?
You steal it from your kids, juice packets?
Somebody mistakenly put these in their bag for trick-or-treat when these are supposed to be for the... No, just kidding. the good people of the Fermentorium in Cedarburg, Wisconsin.
That's how Wisconsin does.
Yes, that's how Wisconsin does. Awesome packaging on this, too. This is just brilliant. But anyway.
There may or may not be vodka in here, but since I am, this is a working night for me. I'm working an NHL broadcast in about an hour and a half. I at least have to pretend that I'm drinking seltzer water.
Yep.
Your bottle's almost invisible there, so it works out.
The Panthers are playing. The Panthers are playing San Jose tonight, so I think you could get away with vodka if you wanted to. So their sharks are terrible. So anyway, so we've got quite a bit to unpack here for all of you. We decided to hold off on Thursday. One, Alex was back from his vacation. Two, we wanted to make sure we got through the full round of European games this time to put a bow, if you will, on the group stage in the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League. Guess what? All 7 Italian teams still in European competition. A couple teams demoted. We will talk about all of that. 3 huge games on the peninsula this weekend that we will have the previews for that you cannot get anywhere else. And then we'll finish up with the world's most popular hashtag game, Who Won Calcio Twitter. But let's start with Matchweek 12, gentlemen. Far enough in the rearview mirror for us, but still worth bringing up. It opened up with Napoli destroying Sassuolo 4-0, hat trick for Victor Osimhen in that game. Sassuolo must have thought that Osimhen wasn't playing because they never accounted for him at any moment in that game, too. It was pretty easy for him. Lecce 0, Juve 1, Inter 3, Sampdoria 0, Empoli 0, Atalanta 2, Cremonese and Udinese played to a scoreless draw. Spezia 1, Fiorentina 2, Lazio 1, Salernitana 3. Another surprise, Torino 2, Milan 1. Hellas Verona 1, Roma 3, Monza 1, Bologna 2. That was match week 12. And Richard, starting with you, takeaways from the games over match week 12.
Interesting games. Obviously, Napoli doing Napoli things, right? Scoring goals, having fun. They look so good. But some of the big takeaways, I mean, the elephant in the room, the 2 big shockers of the weekend, right? Lazio, who was in fine form, dropping to Salernitana. Like, what? 3-1? Some nice goals in the game by Salernitana as well. I thought great game plan there by Salernitana. I think Milan and Lazio suffered the same thing where they were looking too far ahead and caught in a trap game. Lazio lost 3-1, and then Milan losing 2-1. Was well done by Torino. Great game plan by them. Really attacking Milan, got the early goals against them, and then held on for dear life. Yeah, it was good performances by both Torino and Salernitana. They should get full credit for the wins, but obviously Lazio and Milan were looking ahead to their games, both trying to qualify into the knockout rounds in the European games. So obviously that's where their focus must have been. That's the only explanation I got. I don't know what you got.
Okay, Alex, take it away. Match week 12. What did you think?
Oh, the Torino over Milan result was the most shocking thing to me, and I think it's a reminder in this Serie A season. It seems like everyone is going to have some slip-ups and some mulligans, except for Napoli. That's been the team, and I guess they did have a draw. What was with Lecce like 2 months ago, over 2 months ago now, I think. But other than that, they've been pretty much perfect since late August. Everyone else, whether it be Milan, Atalanta in second place, but they've had some stumbles here and there. They lost to Lazio not too long ago. So every team seems to be tripping over their own 2 feet at this point, except for Napoli. And just the sheer volume and dominance of Osimhen and what Napoli were able to do. You have to wonder, and I do think it may be a little bit premature that I see some of their fans already looking like they're celebrating a Scudetto with like 28 match days left to play or 26 match days left to play. Let's slow our roll a little bit, boys.
They do look good, though. They do
look great, but it's like when you haven't won a Scudetto since 1990, you may want to like hold the celebration until April at least, but they do look excellent right now. I do have to throw an individual shout out to Inter. It's not like, they were going up against world beaters, but Nicolo Barella has been just sensational. Yeah. And the goal scoring tear that he's been on recently, guys, has been a pretty fun thing to watch. The way he was able to control that long pass before he fired a rocket into the back of the net. I'm starting to look at what may have been limitations for Barella over the last couple of years. His finishing wasn't great, nor do you usually expect it to be great for a midfielder. It's not like this guy's a striker, but the way he's been able to finish on some scoring chances this season, I just wonder what the limit is for that young man. It seems like he can do just about anything out there.
Sure. I'll throw a few things at you guys here. The Torino-Milan game, surprising result, but I mean, I think, let's face it. I mean, Milan had 4 bad minutes in that game where it just went sideways on them. Leo couldn't find the target to save his life in that game, and some things were just off with Milan's performance. And then Torino took advantage, and they're the kind of team that takes advantage. That's always a tricky fixture. And I get that Milan a couple of years ago went out there and beat them 7-0, in that particular fixture. But that's one of the takeaways that I had looking at that game. Inter against Sampdoria, to your point, Alex, a rude homecoming for Dejan Stankovic. Coming back as Sampdoria manager, a 3-0 win. I have wanted to see Inter as a more possession-dominant team and how they would handle it, because I think historically, when they're in those environments, it's a problem for them. And I have seen, I think there was a game under Conte when they were at Sampdoria and Ranieri was coaching Sampdoria, and this was, 2 years ago? And Inter were all over them, and they just couldn't finish. Yeah. And then Sampdoria ended up going back the other way. I think that game ended in a draw. My memory escapes me, but I've seen a couple games now where Inter have had to have more of the possession. The Pilsen game in the Champions League, another great example, where they're looking a lot better. When they're asked to be in that role. The one thing that's glaring to me, when I watch Inter play in that kind of environment, it suddenly is not a Lautaro Martinez game. It's an Aiden Dzeko game, because It's all about crossing and that guy finishing. Lautaro Martinez is the goal scorer you want when Inter in a counter-attacking environment. Aiden Dzeko is the guy that you're putting a cross on his head, and it's mainly coming from Fede DeMarco, who's that left foot's a cheat code. I think we've said that over and over again on this podcast. So those were that's another thing that I had as a takeaway from this. Any of us three could have marked Victor Osimhen better than Sassuolo did in that game on Saturday. I'm not saying that we would have stopped him, but it has to be said, the first goal, there wasn't a Sassuolo player within 5 yards of him. How do you let that happen? And I think it was, and the second goal was a matter of, Osimhen found himself in between the two defenders right along the 6, and just at the last second sees the guy and, okay, you're going to watch the ball. I'm going to just slip back a little bit. I see a little cutback spot. He kind of drops back a little bit. They get the ball to him and he tucks it in. Just clever forward play. And it's a comment that I made on Twitter. I said, I'm seeing Victor Osimhen reaching elite levels of being a striker. Stuff that you and I talked about, Richard, a few years ago when we were talking about Lukaku and Zapata when they were in their form. We're seeing Victor Osimhen really, really getting to those levels. And then finally, Zaniolo scoring for Roma and getting back on the score sheet. And look what it did, because he scored today.
Yeah.
I mean, we say that about finishers sometimes. That one goal that you're desperately trying to score is miles and miles away. But once you get that one, the next one's only a block away. And that seems to be, that's something that, when we talk about the Roma Lazio game, I'm going to talk about how important Nicola Zaniolo is going to be in that game.
Let me ask you this. On the back of Osimhen getting his hat trick, shout out to Art Morelli, he's in the chat. Do we attribute most of this because Osimhen is coming to his own, or is a little bit of a Havarachelia, is a little bit of both? I mean, this is a fantastic Napoli team. They're setting him up, and he's putting it away. I think it's a little bit of both, right? I think it's Osimhen coming into his own. Yeah. He's finally healthy, right? We finally see him do what he can do.
And that's the biggest thing to me, Richard, because it seems like the last couple seasons since he's been at Napoli, every time he starts to get into a rhythm, he gets injured. Like he's never on the pitch for 10, 12, 15 sustained matches in a row, and that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps to have that guy, number 77 over there too, who no one can stop, and he just sets you up like left and right. So, yeah. It's impressive what they're doing, and let's see what they do in the long haul. But yeah, it's an impressive weekend so far, or season so far for them.
Well, and I think it's another layer to the point of when we talked about this. When we said all the way before the season started that, and I think we were the only ones that said it is not going to surprise us to see Kvaratskhelia go out and just be a stud right from day one, because of the environment that he's walking into. And when you look at how Napoli's set up and how they line up, who do you stop that you really take the game away from them? Okay. You can double mark Osimhen, and that's fine. Well, that you're just giving you're just Kvara's 1v1, with whatever fullback's going to be on that side, or Zielinski slips into those half spaces and suddenly becomes dangerous, or even the other midfielders, Lobotka and Gisa and Ndombele, all come in and get involved. The fullbacks come forward, or do you shade the shape over to Kvara? Well, there's more room for Zielinski to operate. I mean, it's just like
Chucky Lozano. The list goes on and on. It seems like Lobotka can come in.
Depth. Crazy.
Yeah, it's not like Milan, where Chelsea in their Champions League games against Milan shaded their defensive shape all the way over to Leao and dared them to beat them down the right-hand side, Chelsea's left. So, you take one away, another one's going to beat you. You're going to have to come up with some kind of balance, and that's going to be interesting to talk about when we talk about that Atalanta-Napoli game. And then the only other thing that I wanted to, and then we talked about Zaniolo getting the goal for Roma. But overall, we look at a Serie A table where it just gets more and more interesting. I mean, Napoli have a 5-point cushion, and then after that, you've got 5 teams just jockeying position. 2 through 6 is 3 points apart. 2 through 8 is 5 points apart. Udinese is still kind of in this, but it's getting more and more interesting. And I still think, as much as we sit here and we praise Napoli. Okay, Art, cover your ears. I still think that the schedule's been a little bit better for them than it's been for everybody else, and that's reflected in the standings. Now they'll have some adversity going to Bergamo, playing Atalanta. Let's see how they adapt, and let's see if they're ready. I mean, I think this Atalanta game Saturday is a test of their title credentials.
Well, and this is
as
also
crazy as that sounds.
This is just going to be such a chaotic season with the World Cup break, and looks like there's such a big X factor because, and obviously, the top sides in Serie A are the ones that happen to have the most players participating in this World Cup. We don't know who's going to be most affected by that, which countries are going to make the deepest runs, which players are going to come back more fatigued or, God forbid, injured than others. Who knows what kind of a wrinkle that may throw into the second half of the year. It could hurt Napoli. It could benefit Napoli if other teams suffer more issues from that.
And it's also, you mentioned we get a good test to see what Napoli's made of this week against Atalanta. You can flip it and see what Atalanta's made of. Yeah, they had a couple, big games this year already, but they haven't played a Napoli team, right? So we'll see how good their defense is, and then we'll see how good Napoli is against a team that plays pretty good defense. So it's very, very much a 1 versus 2, contrasting styles, right? This is Atalanta used to play like this. Now they play very defensive. So it's going to be entertaining. Must-see TV for sure.
We had a lot of Calcio Twitter ripping us a new asshole for even trying to have a debate about whether or not we thought Lazio was better without Ciro Immobile. We might have jumped the gun just a little bit on that conversation just because of what they did against Atalanta, because since then it hasn't been, well, it's been underwhelming. Losing in the fashion that they did to Salernitana, losing to Data Feyenoord and getting dropped to the Conference League playoffs, and then the game Midtjylland, they ended up winning that game, but they had to grind that one out. So those have been the 3 games since we had that conversation. So maybe we did jump the gun on that a little bit as it pertains to Lazio. But Immobile, they're talking about he might be back for the derby. So,
and we all said that it's nice what Lazio is doing. They're playing very well, but of course they're not better without Immobile. We said that, so people listened.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and
people
then and then the derby, even if they do get Immobile back, SMS is suspended for yellows for that. So that is huge.
So, any other thoughts here on match week 12 before we close the door on it?
No, let's talk knockouts.
Yeah, let's talk. Champions League is behind us. We're a day removed from the last knockings of the league stage of the Champions League, and Alex is going to share with us what went down for the Italian teams.
Well, and I think it's pretty cool that we've got 3 Italian teams passing into the knockout stages. Of course, the team that didn't hold up their end of the bargain or Juve. We'll get to that. The final match day of the group stage was not so meaningful for Inter because their position was already locked in second place. They went to Bayern, fell 2-0 to Bayern Munich. And for Napoli, they have first place secured in their group. They fell 2-0 to Liverpool on the final day. It was a little bit more dramatic for Milan, guys. And what an emphatic performance that was. 4-0 against RB Salzburg. I would love to get you guys' takes as Milanisti, because that was an exclamation point of all exclamation points to go through. What were your thoughts on what ended up being a pretty calm, dominant affair, Frank?
I actually was pretty calm coming into the day on Wednesday. I thought that, I looked at this Salzburg team. They're not the Salzburg teams of a few years ago. Erling Haaland wasn't walking through that door among other players. Adeyemi, and others. So, so I had there was a calm to me, mainly because you had Kjaer back in the lineup, who I think and that's a nice back four when you set that up, and it's the perfect back four to deal with what Salzburg's going to do going the other way. Kjaer is very good at being the veteran that can get in the early positions and defend really well. Tomori and Kalulu can do all of the recovery, and the 3 of them there gives Theo a lot of freedom to go forward. Theo was bombing forward. He deserved a goal in this game. Didn't get one. Olivier Giroud, the big man for the big occasion right now. I mean, he just scores goals when Milan need goals in certain situations. He was fantastic. I thought Sandro Tonali was terrific. I think it was your typical performance. I think that they once again covered for deficiencies on the right-hand side in the attack. Ante Rebic is a guy that I think we've been asking for to play that role, and he even hasn't lived up. We might just be cursed at that position, Richard.
Right-wingers seem to contribute, though. We're looking for a Leao on the right wing, and Salamaker scores in Champions League. So is Messias. Rebic getting assists. I mean, it's okay. It's not what you want to see, but they're converting, so I'll take it for now.
And a great bounce back performance for Tatarusanu after getting beaten a couple times. He made some important saves in this game. When things were still in the 2-0 range, when things were still tight, that one would have given Salzburg some incentive to get back into the game. So I thought that he performed really well too. It was a complete team performance. It demanded a complete team performance, and I thought that we would get that out of Milan. I looked at the Torino game and shrugged my shoulders and said, we were shit. There was 4 minutes where we were shit and we paid for it. So, but here we put it together, and it was one of the more complete 90-minute performances Milan has had this season.
You seem more confident than I was, because after that Torino game, I'm like, you better damn well perform because you just dropped an egg against Torino. You better show up. You're saying you're holding all your eggs for this big game, which is huge for them, right? And then they provided, right? The first half was a little right? Salzburg nearly scored a couple of times, but Milan ultimately progressed with no goalie because say what you want with Tatarusano, he makes some saves, but he's not Magnon. And Milan basically played with 10 players at the like that. But no, they responded really well. Leao was fantastic. Giroud was fantastic. Messias scoring again back-to-back games. It's a good performance, and they needed that. The way that the game was going to end up was going to tell you a lot about Milan. If they flubbed this and choked this some way and didn't qualify, everyone pointing at them and all this pressure is going to be on them now. Like, you can't get out of Champions League. Where's this Champions League DNA? And then now all this pressure in the league. But they've got it done. So that's a huge chip off their shoulder, huge chip off Pioli's shoulder. Hence, he got the extension right before the game. So, yeah, good performance all the way around by Milan. And they can breathe easy until the draw on Monday when they get a big boy, but it's fine. That's fine.
Well, but you know, there are some possibilities with, you know, Milan and Inter both go through their group second, and you know, I guess the hope would be you draw a Portuguese team and not, you know, a Premier League giant or you know, Real Madrid. So
you say that like it's a good thing. Portuguese teams are historically good against at least Milan. I don't know about Inter. They might favor Inter, but Milan are terrible against Porto, and
so are Juventus.
They're historically good. They're historically good against Italian teams in general.
That's true. No, you're right about that. I'd still rather face one of them than Man City. I will say that.
Fair enough. Okay. I want to see Man City PSG, but you know,
Milan's options for the knockouts are Benfica, Manchester City, Real Madrid, Tottenham, Bayern, and Porto. So they have it's any of those six.
Inter's going to get Tottenham. We know that, right? Conte.
And you know what? I wouldn't mind it just for the stories. I mean, you know, to go up against Conte's Tottenham would be that would be a lot of fun. So if you know, some people believe these things are rigged, guys, these draws, and if that is the case, expect Inter Tottenham. And if they don't get that the first time around, they will redo the draw because they've done that before.
Oh, we messed up. Let's start over.
Yeah.
Do we think Napoli? We probably think that. I mean, the Napoli fans are already. A couple of them were already moaning. We're going to get PSG.
That would be fun to watch, but hopefully they don't get PSG because you want to see Napoli get like Club Brugge or someone like that, someone that gives them a chance to continue playing the way what you want is all the Italian teams to avoid the big dogs. Obviously, all the second-ranked teams, Milan and Inter, are not going to get that, but Napoli hopefully should get credited. You know, this rigged system credited for being in first place and getting a team that's not as good. Hopefully, because I would love to see Napoli get out of this round 16, go to round of 8, right? And that would just boost their confidence even more. And it would do so much just for Serie A to have another team going deep and to have play a team like PSG or I don't know who else. I got to look at all the second seeds. It would be
they have five possibilities.
Okay,
Bruges, Frankfurt, Leipzig, Dortmund, or PSG.
Yeah, anyone but PSG, I would think.
Yeah.
So,
well, and guys, we hope we can get you know, an Italian winner in all these European competitions. You have 3 Italian clubs advancing in Champions League. Congratulations to Juventus for qualifying for the Europa League knockout stages. Roma in that mix as well, and we got Lazio now. Congratulations on your Conference League knockout stages. I actually figured out I can watch and I joke they're available on the same service actually. In the States, Paramount Plus, the Champions League and Europa League are on, but I will support our guy Jerry and watch Lazio's run through that. What did Tade call it? The loser competition that they're now going to be in.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this as an Inter fan, Alex. Your options are Porto, Tottenham, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Man City, Benfica. Tottenham is probably the one you're relishing.
Yes.
But do you look forward to drawing any of those other teams?
Honestly, outside of Tottenham, I just would like to draw basically anybody other than Man City. It would, it would just be, it would be kind of like a kick to the groin if Inter draw Man City and then Milan get a more winnable round of 16 draw. So I would be happy with anyone other than Man City because I feel like it could at least be competitive for the most part.
Though I will say this, against the last game against Bayern, I thought you guys looked pretty good. You started a B lineup, but you did you fared pretty okay. Had some chances early on and had one of those chances gone in, got a goal. Who knows how the game would have been, but I thought you guys performed very well against Bayern, who are probably as good as Man City, very close. So at least if you do play City, you have an idea of how you have to play. It's a little bit slower paced, but it's a lot of possession. So nailing them on the counterattack, which you guys are good at, it'll be key in that game. Hopefully you don't get it, though.
Yeah, it's been some good and some bad, mostly good with Inter lately. They've been on a nice run. I think the fact that they've been able to actually up their level of play without Brozovic has been a good sign. Because I'm not saying they're better without him, but they've been clicking without him. So and he should be back soon. I think he's going to be on the squad this weekend. So it's only a matter of time that he's fully fit to start again. Then obviously my frustration comes from another muscular injury for Lukaku, and it seems like we may not see him again until 2023. I don't know what Chelsea did to him because, Lukaku under Conte and Pintus a couple of years ago, he was just an Iron Man, and then he goes out to Chelsea, and now it's, every other day a different hamstring is pulled.
Fish and chips.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say this in general, as far as Napoli, Milan, and Inter, when we get into this draw tomorrow, I firmly believe that our Serie A teams are at a point where nobody wants to play them. Okay. For a
even
while
Juve?
here.
Even Juve?
What's that?
Even Juve?
Well, no, I'm talking about Napoli,
okay.
Napoli, Milan, and Inter.
Yeah.
I think these are teams that the other teams that are going to be drawn in these pots are looking at, man, I hope we don't get these guys. I really firmly believe that the Serie A teams have finally gotten to that point. We've had years of, I'd love to get Juve, or I'd love to get this Inter team or somebody like this, where I think that you look at Inter now all of a sudden under Inzaghi. I mean, you look at last year, they performed admirably over two legs against Liverpool, and just came up a little bit short. We'll see what Milan are going to be made of. But, I mean, I'm sure that the last time Milan were in the knockout stage, Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid couldn't wait to play them, and brush them aside and say, okay, these are two games we don't have to worry about too much. And the same thing with the second place teams that, all have a chance to play Napoli. I don't think any of them are interested in, seeing Napoli come out of the bowl. So that's one thing that I'm looking forward to when this draw happens. I think the Serie A teams are getting to the point now where they can be feared. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and it's a good sign, I think, Richard, to see a little bit more parity. And yeah, it's hard to even put my finger on exactly what's causing it because, you look at the way Serie A, for the most part, is being outspent, by La Liga and Premier League especially. So I don't know if it's just been a really good run of Serie A coaching, or if even though the Serie A clubs may not be as deep as some of the English and Spanish clubs, they've just been clicking over the last couple of seasons. But you're totally right, because it shouldn't really be going this way. I mean, you just look at the way that other leagues are outspending Serie A clubs at this point. It should be getting more lopsided, not less. But it's a welcome change.
Dominic, I don't know the answer to your question. We'll find out, though.
What's his question?
It is, how far into the Champions League does the winter transfer window happen this year? I imagine it's still January, but I don't know.
The winter transfer window, I think, is still January, and then the UCL is going to resume. What did I say?
February, Valentine's Day.
They said the week of Valentine's Day. Is that for sure?
It's actually Valentine's Day, I think, is when they start.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm already got the. I'm about
Milan
to say
I'm playing on Valentine's Day. I'm gonna have bad news for my wife.
I was just gonna say I have to come up with an excuse why we have to go out a different night.
You have to see Dr. Ibrahimovic.
Get the note from Ibra. There you go.
Yeah. What were we talking about? went off the rails.
Transfer window and Champions League.
I mean, we're all in agreement, though. Napoli, before we get to we'll talk Europa here in conference in a minute. I think we're all in agreement that Napoli would like to see Bruges out of their 5 possibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruges came out to a blistering start, but I think over the course of this
to Capitale against his former team,
we can't. No, we're both second place. We can't get them. That would have been nice.
You're right. Napoli, though. Yeah, Napoli.
Yeah.
I mean, to go back to what Alex was saying before, I think just because you spend money doesn't mean anything, right? That's why PSG and Man City have not won a Champions League yet. It doesn't matter. It comes down to coaching tactics. Italians have always had better managing tactics. That's why they win the Premier League, right? Sorry, Graham Souness. But what Spalletti's doing at Napoli, fantastic, right? He finally has a team that is perfect for him. Pioli has come into his own at Milan. Pioli's on fire is the slogan, right? And what they've done under Pioli is fantastic. And then Inzaghi's picked up what Conte's did, tweaked it to what he does, and they're continuing on that. It hasn't really dropped much. It's different antics on the sidelines, if you will, but it's still a very good squad. And Inzaghi's finding different ways to do it than Conte and still get the job done. Obviously, they got to the knockout rounds, which Conte couldn't do. So you should be fear of these 3 teams because tactically, if you are somewhat superior to them, whether it's money-wise or talent-wise, they can find a way to shut you down. All 3 of these managers, Spalletti, Pioli, and Inzaghi, know how to take out the strengths of another team and just force you to beat you another way. Now, when you have money, you can have talent, and you take out one guy, you got to worry about somebody else, right? That's kind of like what we have to worry about Napoli in the league is you take out Kvaratskhelia, you got Lozano, you got all these other pieces. So that'll be the key, the trick. But I think the way the coaching is in from the Italian teams makes them just as formidable to play against anybody. And that's the advantage we have at the moment as a Serie A community.
I do want to quick address something here real quick here. We should talk about Juve as they finished third and got consigned to the Europa League. And before I do that, Ollie, take your way on a romantic. My wife and I actually on our honeymoon we were at the Milan derby. So
wow.
You have history. You can do it again.
September 28th, 2008. So if I told her we could go back to Italy and we're
this Valentine's Day, it'd be very romantic.
Yeah, it would be.
There you go.
It would be. Take her back over to see the Last Supper painting, and
you can go to the Galleria, where of course I am at this very moment.
She can get those boots that she complained were too expensive, and I kept telling her, I said, you know what? We're coming home broke. Just get the damn boots.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oh man. We should talk about Juventus. I mean, Richard and I both predicted that Juventus were not going to qualify out of this group. We thought PSG and Benfica would go through. Even though we said Juve would finish third in this group, we're not going to let them off easy here. This is Juventus. This is the, cringeworthy obsession that Agnelli has with this competition, or at least had when he bought Ronaldo. I don't know how he feels about it these days. That this was what they were all in on trying to win. And now you've gotten to the point, you went from being a finalist in 2017, going to get Ronaldo, only to get knocked out by Lyon and Ajax and Porto in the knockout stages, to now you can't even get out of a group. I mean, this is just the one thing that they're never going to – it just seems like they're never going to have. It's almost like Milan, Napoli, and Inter all have better chances of winning the Champions League than Juventus do now. Well, because they're in the knockouts this year, but going forward as well. I mean, so while we predicted third for them and that they would get bounced to the Europa League, this is a failure.
Yeah, and it's a failure that has been building for the last 4 or 5 years. And, when you brought up Ronaldo, I still think that the money that they spent on Cristiano and not getting that return on investment, because they bought Cristiano for one reason and one reason only back in 2018, and that was to win the Champions League. And they had to sacrifice other parts of their finances to do that. I think that the Ronaldo move cost them Beppe Marotta. They just see, because I don't think he was for that move. I think he wanted to go in a different direction. They parted ways because of that. That really left a long-standing damage on Juventus' sporting project. So those were big mistakes there. And then I think bringing back Allegri, well, I thought at the time, I thought it was the right move. I think we were all wrong about it. The 2 years that Allegri was off. I don't know what this guy did, because usually when you have managers take a hiatus, they usually come back refreshed with some new ideas. He came back from a 2-year hiatus. His ideas got 100 years older. Like, he started playing 19th century Calcio again. Like, so,
he didn't even watch Calcio. That's a problem.
I think that was the problem. So really, I mean, what you had with Juve, and they're going to be back at some point, obviously, because, Juventus are not going to be sleeping giants for very long. But I think it's really been a culmination of four or 5 years worth of mistakes that have brought them to this point.
Yeah. And I think we've all agreed. We exhausted this on last week's podcast. Well, you were on vacation. I don't know where
so you're not going to give that up, are you?
By the way, where do you vacation from Miami?
It's a great question. We went to Disney World, and we were there for like a week. I am completely broke. I found a way, guys. I lose more money in Disney World than I do in Las Vegas, because at least occasionally I'll win a few hands of blackjack, right? Where in Disney World, you're not winning anything back, man. So all the money is gone.
Yeah. No, that's very understandable. I believe that very, very much.
Yeah. Okay. Now, where the hell was I?
I don't know. We can get into Europa League, though. I mean,
yeah, we can probably just get into But no, Richard and I were exhausted this last week. I said Juventus need to just stop going out and getting the same guys characteristically.
The midfield is the issue.
Midfield, and they need to have some kind
midfield players.
Yes, some characteristic diversity in what they have. Because you look at some of these other teams that are going through, and the mix of players that they put in their midfield, you don't have that at Juve. I will say this, I will commend them, because, man, when I looked that they were going to trot out Bonucci and Gatti and Sandro with those three midfielders in front of them, I sat there and I said, Messi and Mbappe are just going to boat race these guys. And they didn't,
one goal they did.
Might have, well, I mean, they did enough to win the game. They won 2-1, but, it might have been a little bit different story if Neymar was out there and not Soler, but it was, you got to, at the end, you got to give Juve a little bit of credit that they chose not to get embarrassed on their 125th birthday. Yeah. So
I will say this, there is promise with Miretti, Fagioli, Ealing, a couple other guys too. There are some promising players coming through the ranks, and Chiesa is coming back as well. But yeah, this is not a team that should be in the Europa League, I mean, it is based on how they're performing, but not what we're expecting. And so, at least they're still in the knockout round. How serious are they going to take it? I don't know. It's a good question to see, compared to their counterpart in this. And I'm going to segue into the Europa League here. Roma and Lazio were the two teams who were in it for Serie A, and I think we all expected both of them to qualify. Roma did their job, right? They won 3-1. They gave up an early goal to Ludogorets, made everybody sweat there, but they kind of kicked things up. 2 penalties at Pellegrini, Zaniolo at the end, what Frank said earlier, and they won fairly comfortably. And so good. They move on. They're going to be with Juventus. But Lazio, we talked about this with Milan and Lazio on the weekend, how they were looking ahead. And I said if Milan lost in the round of the last game here against Salzburg, it'd be embarrassing. Lazio went ahead and did that. Yeah. They embarrassed themselves. Yes, the team they lost to Feyenoord is good, and playing in Netherlands is hard. You still have a far superior team talent-wise. You should be winning that game. And then they lost 1-0. And yeah, I know the group was tight. Everybody had 8 points, but you lose 1-0 to Feyenoord in a game was a must-win. You had to outperform everybody else in the group because everyone was tight, and they couldn't do it. And I fully expected Sarri, with his experience in the Europa League, to find a way to twist the right buttons and get the job done, and they couldn't do it. And now, they're not completely out of it. They go to the Conference League, the losers tournament, as their owner says. But it's unfortunate. And so it's Roma and Juventus now in the Europa League. And I asked you guys, someone in the chat, a couple people in the chat were talking about it, that who's going to go further in the tournament? Is it going to be Juventus or Roma? Obviously, there's some big boys, Arsenal, Barcelona, and some other big guys in there. But between these two, can one of these two teams win it? And who is going to go further? I asked you first, Alex.
Well, I'm going to say that, because you talk about having, experience in some of these tournaments. You look at Mourinho's success in Europe and, for what it's worth, coming off of a Conference League victory. I mean, it is a European tournament. So I would probably put my money on Roma. I think Roma could make a run in Europa League. I'm not sleeping on Lazio in Conference League. I don't exactly have a full grasp of the Conference League field, but I feel like they should be probably one of the top 2 or 3 most equipped teams to win that tournament. So, I mean, you could get a Conference League winner and maybe a Europa League winner the same season.
It's true. All 3.
I think it's more important for Roma.
Yes.
Than it is for Juventus.
You think so?
I think a run in the Europa League is more necessary for Roma than it is for Juventus, and I'll say why. They just won the Conference League that a lot of Calcio Twitter and a lot of the casual fans out there still don't take the Conference League seriously. And they, Roma won it last year. They're the first to win it, and a lot of the Calcio Twitter fan base is saying, oh, that's cute. You got something to go with your tree. So.
And by all of Calcio Twitter, you mean Jerry Mancini.
No, he's about 30% of it. So my feeling is I think that a run in the Europa League further validates Jose Mourinho's project. I think that a run for Juventus in the Europa League is just going to lead to Calcio fans and Juve fans saying, well, why can't you do that in the Champions League? I think that there's different parallels here. And I just think that it's a better situation for Mourinho to go deeper for Roma. I would prioritize pulling for Roma to win this thing more than for Juventus winning this thing. For those reasons. If anything I just said made sense.
I think Roma are almost expected to go deep after last year's win in the Conference League, right? And so, this group, this very same group, went through the trenches last year, albeit Conference League, and won. So they should, mentality-wise, be able to go through another daunting task. Yes, they got bigger teams now they got to worry about, but they should be able to go in the long haul. I think this is, and just to play devil's advocate, I think it's important for Juventus because if they flub out, and I know the argument's going to be, they're going to focus on Serie A, trying to make top 4. They're not making top 4. They need to go deep. They need to prove that they're actually decent enough team still. They're not completely in a rebuild mode, and they need to go deep. Because if they don't go deep, everyone's going to be like, blow it up. We suck. You don't go far in Europa League, and they're certainly not going to make the top 4. What are they going to look for? People are going to be, Allegri's already out. We know he's out. It's just a matter of time. The question is, how soon is it going to be? And if he loses in the next round, he's definitely going to be, they have to get rid of him, right? I know the cost is absurd to get rid of him, but they got to. And it's important for Juve, in my opinion, just to play devil's advocate.
So isn't it almost one of those things where if they do flame out, maybe it's a blessing in disguise because that only accelerates the dismissal? Because maybe, and obviously, as you mentioned, they do have a handful of young pieces that they can build around, but maybe blowing it up is not the worst idea, right? Because I think that they've been trying to cling to this cycle for a little bit too long. And I guess Agnelli didn't get the memo that the cycle that they were on, for how many, was it, 10 straight Scudetti that they won, that cycle's been over for a few seasons now, and he's finally just getting the memo.
I'm looking at this draw for the Europa League playoff round, and there's going to be some pretty tasty games. Yeah. Some pretty tasty matchups here. Juventus could get Manchester United, Midtjylland. How great would that be for Roma fans if Roma got Midtjylland after Lazio had such a hard time with them overall? So,
as long as Roma don't get Bodo Glimt.
Yep. Monaco, Nantes, PSV Eindhoven, round It's Stade Rennais. I'm just gonna say Rennais because when it's spelled Rennes, I don't know how to pronounce it because it's.
I think it's Ren, isn't it?
Ren, it is
Is
Ren.
it just Rennes?
Yeah.
Ask the polyglot up there. It's Ren.
Yeah, Ren.
Okay.
Ren.
Or Union Berlin. Those are Juve's possible opponents. So
All
Roma can't play Michelin in this draw. So unfortunately, maybe later in the tournament they could, which would be great. Roma's possible opponents: Ajax, Barcelona, Leverkusen, Salzburg, Sevilla, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Sporting.
I would answer the question here: where is it better for Roma to get a big team sooner or later? I say later.
Yeah.
Because you want to get the confidence, the full head of steam going, get the train rolling, and then when you play big boy, at least you have confidence. Yeah, they probably could still do well here. Mourinho with his tactics, if they beat a big boy early, it would do really well. But as a pessimist, I would say, give me a small team first. Let me work my way into the tournament before I get the big boys at the end. But that's how.
But who's a big? Wait a second. Who's a big boy out of these options?
Well, Ajax.
Good
I would say
point.
Barcelona
Ajax is.
No. I mean, this Ajax
Compared to
is
Roma?
not the Ajax of the last few years.
Compared to
It's
Roma?
not the Ajax of 1991, Richard. This is
Compared to
the
Roma?
Ajax of 2020.
On brand name, I mean, on brand name, it would be fun. But I mean, Barcelona might be the one team
Barcelona for sure.
Yeah, Barca.
if they care about it and throw Lewandowski out there. Okay, that's the question. Other than that, I'm not worried about this. And we talked about this when we were talking about Napoli going through that group. This Ajax team doesn't scare me.
No.
I mean, they're not the Ajax team of the last few years. All of those guys are gone. Okay, Ten Hag's gone. It's an Ajax team that's reloading. If this is the time to draw Ajax early, if you want to draw them. This is a team that just they couldn't figure out Napoli or Liverpool. Got beaten pretty handily by both teams, and they're just going to have a crisis of confidence playing against anybody big.
Yeah.
Not necessarily going on a limb and calling Roma big here, but I think Roma could beat Ajax over two legs.
I say this. Roma struggled against teams that have talented wingers, fast-paced wingers like Bodo Glimt. And so you go to Ajax, who certainly have pace. They're maybe not the most talented team, whatever. They certainly have youth. They have pace. They can certainly exploit them in the weaknesses. And so...
But no, they don't have pace anymore, Richard. They have technique. They have great technique. They don't have pace. Bergwijn's not pace.
That's fair. Anthony
Berghuis isn't pace. The pace comes up front with Kudus.
Yeah.
Or whenever if
Tadic is still Tadic, and
they've got they're incredibly technical. Don't get me wrong, but they're not they're not the David Neres, Anthony. Those guys, even Gravenberg coming from the midfield, those guys.
Too bad they couldn't get United, right?
I know that would be fun with Mourinho. I mean, down the road they can. But and to answer the original question, not to say that there's too many giants to be had next round, but to me it's simple mathematics that you want to get the easiest road because the farther you go, the more revenue you earn. Yeah. Right, per each round. So that's you want to have the easiest road possible to the finals because you're picking up revenue for your club every round you advance.
Yeah,
as long as it's not Bodo Glimt, Roma should be fine. I like that.
There was also the Conference League, right? And Fiorentina did their job. They won again 3-0. They had 3 goals in the first half, and so they easily move on. So that was them and Lazio. Oh, Lazio, the owner talking shit about Roma and say it's a tournament for losers, and now they're in the tournament for losers, apparently. I asked this, between Lazio and Fiorentina, who do you like more to go further in the tournament?
I think Lazio's got more upside.
I agree.
Yeah, obviously, Immobile needs to be healthy and SMS needs to be out there. But to me, Lazio is just a better team. It's kind of shocking that they are where they are because they should still be in Europa League.
Yeah.
I just look at who Lazio could potentially play here: Anderlecht, Basel, Cluj, Dnipro, Ghent, Lech, Poznan, Partizan. Who should they be scared of out of those?
A lot of Wi-Fi passwords in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe Ghent.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
not much.
Where Fiorentina, Braga's in play for them. Ludo Gretz, who gave Roma all they could handle. Karabag. Don't underestimate what it's like having to go with that. And that Trabzonspor team's pretty solid. Bakasetas can play. Trezeguet, Stryger Larson has some is going to know how to play Serie A teams. So Fiorentina will have a tougher draw than Lazio will. So, and Fiorentina has not really shown that they can navigate playing every 3 days.
But
I think that's the other challenge.
Apex's point, maybe they focus all their attention on the Conference League and scrap the league. We saw this at Atalanta in the past where they couldn't handle both tournaments at the same time, and so they prioritized Champions League for the league. And then once they got out, they came back. And I think Fiorentina, I agree with this. I think Fiorentina could throw all their eggs into the Conference League and really have a go at it. This team is a good team, I think, for a tournament style. They're unproven for sure. And I prefer Lazio in that situation because, Sadi has experience. This is a really good team with Lazio, but don't discount this Fiorentina team. I think if they do put all their eggs in their basket for the Conference League, they could go far. Will they go farther than Lazio? I don't know. I'm not quite ready to say that, but I think they can still do a pretty decent job, as long as they can keep away from Braga and those likes. But yeah, it's an interesting tournament.
Yep. So I guess let's wrap the European preview by asking team that's like most likely to go deep out of any of these competitions and team least likely.
Ooh, least likely, easy, Juventus.
Yeah,
I don't like them at all.
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think they put stock in this.
Okay, I'm gonna say the chance. Oh, this is hard. So I'll say this
because it's an interesting question. Can Napoli go deep? I mean, the draw.
The Champions League teams. I think Napoli goes the furthest of the three. Napoli's the furthest of the three Italian teams in Champions League.
Yeah. Okay.
In Europa League, I say it's Roma, and in the Conference League, I say Lazio. Now between those three teams, man, it's hard because
I'm going Roma. I think Roma make a big run in the Europa League.
I think it's between them and Napoli. And Napoli need the draw to favor them. As long as they can avoid the big boys until the late stages, they'll be okay. I'm gonna ride the hot wave at the moment, and I'm gonna say Napoli. Long as they can avoid, as long as the draw favors them, they can go deep. Knowing that they're probably gonna get PSG and lose the next round. But,
I think as long as Lazio don't tank the competition, I feel like they can win Conference League. I really do. And I agree with everything else Richard said. Napoli, to me, they're the best side in Italy right now. They play a progressive style of attacking football, and they're so deep up front. It looks like it's going to mesh well in Champions League, despite the lack of experience they have making those kind of runs and not having won the competition. I still think Napoli on paper look like the side to do that. It's hard, like with Inter and Milan, there's just such a question mark with the draw because they can either draw a real giant or they could get a little bit lucky. Depending on who they draw, I could see Inter maybe advancing beyond the round of 16 this season, totally depending on the draw again, only because they have some experience in the competition and they did pretty well against Liverpool in the knockouts last year. And I do kind of believe in the whole incremental thing. Obviously, Juventus did the opposite in recent years where they got a little bit worse every year, but I do believe you learn how to get through these knockout stages, and maybe the experience Inter had last season, they might be maybe 1 year ahead of Milan on that front. So I could see Inter maybe getting to the quarterfinals depending on a favorable draw here. But the safe pick would be Napoli.
Frank, you got Roma. Roma's they can win it.
I think Roma makes it. I think Roma's at least going to the last four of the Europa League.
Yeah.
I think it's set for them. Mourinho's a good cup manager.
Yes.
I think when they want to be invested in a competition, they can go and get it. And I think this game against Ludogorets today was a microcosm of that because he played a changed side to start the game and they were down 1-0 and Jose just said, fuck this, and made 3 subs at halftime that just
Zaniolo was a game changer in that game.
Yes, completely shifted the game. And that's how it went. So that's it for me. I mean, I think Roma goes farther than any Italian team in any European competition this year.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's our roundup on Europe. What did you guys think? Tell us at Serie A Sitdown on Twitter or Instagram. It's been a while since I've asked anybody to give us their thoughts because
you're losing it, man. You're losing it.
Giving us their thoughts. So
because you stopped asking.
Well, I think they just listen to us and they just say, "Well, yeah, okay, fine. We don't need, we're not gonna give you any backlash." We did the most backlash we got was this whole Lazio clip we did about are they better without Immobile? And Richard framed it. Richard framed it to where it became clickbait. So
Love it.
It was true. It was no clickbait.
But now let's shift our focus to match week 13 because, man, we got some big games this weekend. Alex, a small matter of first versus second on Saturday.
And you know what the crazy thing about this, and I even say this, admitting this as an Interista, that Derby d'Italia is not the biggest Serie A match this weekend. I mean, how can it be when you literally have the top team in the league right now, Napoli, who have absolutely been flying, 7-match winning streak in all competitions, taking on an Atalanta side that are, 5 points back, but somewhat surprisingly in second place right now. And they're not having to deal with European competitions, which could benefit them in the long run. Saturday, 6 p.m. Italian time, local time out there. So this is going to be very interesting, guys, because I look at the swing here. If Napoli take all 3 points, as they're slightly favored to do it, plus 110. Both sides are in the plus money, so is the draw. But Napoli are the betting favorite here, and they probably on paper should win this match, even though it's in Bergamo. And if they do win it, they go 8 points clear of Atalanta. And if Atalanta wins it, what are they? 3 points only below Napoli, 2 points, I believe. Math is not my strong suit. So there is a gigantic swing one way or the other in this match, guys. And I'll pose this to you first, Richard. How much of a shot do you give Atalanta here? Because they kind of mixed results over the last 5. I think they've won 3, lost 1 to Lazio. They've drawn 1 in that last, where Napoli has looked just infallible lately. Do you think Atalanta get a big result at home?
Don't discount them, right? Defense wins championships. And not that I'm going to say Atalanta won the Scudetto this year, but defense finds a way to neutralize a lot of things. And we've seen high-powered offenses get shut down by a very good defensive or park the bus mentality. Do I think Atalanta going to park the bus? No. But will they do well defensively? They know. They have to know Kvaratskhelia is the number 1 target for them. Osimhen, you must cover him, because if you don't, you see what Sassuolo happened, right? 3 goals. It's not going to be easy. It isn't against Napoli, but Atalanta this year, if you said this in the past, you should just shoot me if you talk about defense and Atalanta, but this year they can play defense and they're opportunistic. Adama Lukman is having a good year this year with Atalanta, obviously having the talented players that they have. Don't discount Atalanta. I think they can get a result, and by result I mean draw, maybe a win. It's possible, but it's hard. It's both. Napoli is in fantastic form at the moment, but to answer your question, I do think Atalanta could upset them, meaning 2 versus 1. And I would not be completely surprised, because of when you play good defense, anything is possible. And Atalanta play very good defense in the league. So,
I wanted to, I'm guilty of not watching enough Atalanta this season. So I dialed into the Empoli game here on Sunday, and I watched a few other games because one we have talked about throughout the season is that, okay, there is a pretty much a 180-degree shift to how Atalanta does their business now on the pitch. Gasperini has changed this team. He's turned them into a counter-attacking team. He had to, and I'm going to go back and regurgitate some things that we've said on this podcast, that they're not the pressing team that they used to be, where the wingbacks are bombing forward and are part of the goals and all of this other stuff, because it left so many spaces exposed, in particular between those 2 center midfielders and that back 3. And they were just getting roasted game after game, especially last year. People figured it out. So Gasperini turned shift. So what I see from them when I watch the Empoli game, because Empoli try to play a technical game as well, I see Atalanta dropping off. They're not pressing. I see more confrontation in the middle third of the field. And what they do is that they'll zonally crowd the ball. Okay, they'll get numbers over to the ball side. They'll try to prevent you from switching the point of attack. And they're going to try to make your game predictable just in those small spaces. The interesting part that I watched as Empoli was entering the final third, you saw Atalanta shifting from being a ball crowding shape to, okay, now we man mark. And there weren't specific assignments. There was, okay, if you're closest to this guy, that's your guy. If you're closest to him, if you're the closest. So, and it was effective against Empoli. It's been effective against a lot of teams. It wasn't effective against Lazio. Some moments of lapses in concentration. And I think that is something that is real when you're a man marking defense in your own third in those situations. That can be really hard to do and very, very easy to lose your concentration. Okay, so a couple of things that I'm going to watch out for when I watch Napoli attack. First of all, is Zielinski getting into the spaces between those two midfielders and that back three? Because if he is, forget it. Napoli are going to kill this game.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing I look at. Can Osimhen continue to be clever like he was against Sassuolo and read where the defenders are going? And okay, I got to get out of here. I got to get into these spaces where I can get the ball and finish. Okay, that's number two. And then Kvaratskhelia, how do Atalanta deal with him? Okay, so while they have done this, and this is the test that Atalanta have prepared for, doing this style week after week after week for a game like this. And I think there's going to be just too much for them. I'm also going to go on the Michael Lisi theory of Atalanta are not very good at home. And this is a home match for them. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put all of that together, and I'm going to say that Napoli win this game 2-1. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a compelling watch. Yeah. Atalanta are going to get one going back the other way. They're going to have a lot of great chances to even make this 2-2, and it wouldn't surprise me if it ended like that. But I'm going to go 2-1 to Napoli, and they stretch their lead a little bit in the table after Saturday.
You know what? It's going to be hard for Atalanta is that Spalletti gives free rein to Kvaratskhelia to drift from the left wing to the right wing when he wants. When he feels that there's too much pressure, he has a freedom to move over there. And I don't know if Atalanta will be ready for it, because if he sniffs that they're shading on his side way too much, he'll sneak over there, and then eventually he'll get one-on-one in a matchup that Atalanta are not ready for, and it can exploit them, whether he scores or assists. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
He'll find a way.
Yeah.
And
will the communication be there? And then the other thing you're going to have to look at, 4-3-3 for
Watch
Napoli.
him. Between Zielinski and him, how the movement goes, right? Those two guys have a lot of freedom on the pitch for a good reason. When he drifts away from the left wing spot, because they're going to be crowding it, can they spot it and handle it? And I don't know if they will. That's the hard part. That's what Atalanta really have to focus in on. If they can, they're going to win. That's a big ask. Napoli's
a three-man midfield against the two center mids for Atalanta. They're going to be outnumbered in that particular space. So if Zielinski doesn't get behind, if one of them tracks with him, then Anguissa or Lobotka or whoever's going to start in those other spots are going to have some room to work with the ball too. This is a tough matchup for Atalanta.
Sure.
The concentration and the communication have to be there for them to have a chance to win this game. But I think they're going to fall short, and Napoli win this 2-1.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Alex, you had that game, and you say that's the biggest game of the weekend, and that's fair shot. I think the Derby Della Capitale is the biggest game of the weekend. Two teams on similar paths, right? The series has gone back and forth. Roma wins, Lazio wins. Roma wins, Lazio wins. Last game was a draw. The trend says Roma wins. Roma are hosting this one. Another X factor to watch, gentlemen, is Orsato is the referee. There will be a red card in the game. There will be VAR involved. Manager will be gone. But you look at the last 5 matches between these two, right? Roma won 3-0. Then Lazio came back, won 3-2. Roma won 2-0. Lazio 3-0. And then they drew 1-1 last time. Trend says Roma win. You look at the patterns of two teams, it's eerily similar. I mean, Lazio a little bit on a downtrend because they lost last week against Salernitana, lost in the midweek. So a little bit down. But, I mean, Alex, this is a difficult game. Both teams are equal. I mean, who do you see has the advantage in this one?
I see Roma having a couple of advantages. Not only do I feel like they're in better form at this moment, but with SMS being suspended, Milinkovic-Savic with the yellow card accumulation, I think that's another blow for Lazio. You mentioned this being, the home match for Roma. Not that matters a whole lot, because they would still have 80% of the fans there. Well, whether it was Lazio's home designation or Roma's designation. I don't think that this is going to be a blowout. I know not too long ago we had a 3-0 Roma result. I think this is more of a a 1-0 or a 2-1, but I see Roma pulling it out, getting the 3 points.
Frank, does Lazio have a chance? Lazio has a good team. They've been playing very well this season. Both teams have been playing well, but Lazio is really clicking. They had that big win against Atalanta. Can they get it done in the Derby della Capitale? It's a big game. What do you think?
Here's the concerns I have with Lazio. Okay, so Immobile is probably back, but Milinkovic-Savic is suspended. It was a cheap suspension, by the way, which was a shame.
Very.
Yeah.
To deprive us of a star player in a game like this is hugely disappointing. I look at Lazio. I look at their away form. In the league, it's been good. They won 4-0 at Fiorentina. They won 2-0 at Atalanta. And how did they do it? Okay, the Atalanta game, we're looking at the statistics there, and we're seeing that they had superiority with the ball. Okay. In the Fiorentina game, we look at that. Okay. They were inferior. Fiorentina had the ball more, and Lazio hit them on the counter. So Lazio has the ability to be versatile. I expect Lazio to have more of the ball here, mainly because Mourinho is going to set Roma up that way.
I like that.
Yeah. I think they're going to say, here, have the ball. Zaniolo's fit, and he has scored. He scored against Ludogorets. He scored against Verona. We've got him confident again. And I don't think Lazio have anybody in their back four that can cope with Zaniolo if he finds the spaces behind him. And in a counterattacking environment, Zaniolo is exactly the kind of player you want. I think he's the difference in this game if he starts. I don't think Abraham plays well. I think Abraham plays okay, and I think that he's an influence because Casali, as well as he's been playing for Lazio, and I expect him to start alongside Romagnoli. I think they find a way to neutralize Abraham, but they don't have an answer for Zaniolo. Okay, and I think that that's where the difference happens. I'm going 1-0 to Roma. I think this is a grind. It's your typical derby della Capitale match, and I think that Roma pull away.
That's two guys for Roma here. I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to say Lazio win 2-1. I know Giallo Rossi USA is in the chat, and I apologize. Cover your ears, but
how dare you?
I know. How dare I? And Jerry's not paying me any money, but I think Lazio find a way through Zaccagni, Felipe Anderson. I think they can get the job done. I think Sarri, with the way his team has been playing, very fluid at the moment. They're going to catch Roma. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a tight game, no doubt. I say 2-1 maybe. I like the scoreline. I'm going to say Lazio, though. I think Pedro has been so good for Lazio since he joined them. And he seems to be extra motivated when he plays Roma. He has really good games against them. And whether he starts or comes off the bench, I think he's going to be a big player in this game. And he's going to set these guys up because Zaccagni is in the form of his life. He's scoring goals that he shouldn't be scoring. They're fantastic goals, but he hasn't been scoring these kind of goals. And if Immobile comes back, that's just another guy who always scores in big games. And so I would not be surprised if one of those three or two of those three score a goal in this one. I know no SMS, and that's a big-time player, but I fully expect the rest of the players to show up. This is a derby, and you could take form at the window, players at the window. It always is. Most of the time is tight. We have these blowouts occasionally, right? 6-0 Milan to Inter, sorry. But these games are typically tight, and Lazio being on the road, I think are going to do well in this environment. And I think they're going to pull one out late and get a shocker. So I'm going to go against the grain and say Lazio 2-1.
So you guys think you have the best game this weekend, where you're both totally wrong. I get to narrate the game of the weekend. Derby d'Italia. Are you kidding me?
I hope it is the best game of the weekend.
Juventus, Inter. I mean, come on. We've got one of the oldest derbies in Italian football, and we've got two desperate teams matching up in this one. Juve, Inter, both starting to get in good form in the league. Yeah. Juve's won 3 in a row in Serie A. Inter's won 4 in a row in Serie A. Something's got to give, doesn't it? Has Allegri finally gotten this figured out, at least as it pertains domestically? Has Inzaghi righted the ship domestically? Alex, you're the Inter guy. State the case for why Inter wins this game.
I don't know if I want to do that because I'm also very superstitious. This is one of these things. This fixture over the years has just been draped in so many oddities, whether it be strange refereeing decisions, which usually tend to go against Inter, but I know a lot of Juventini would argue that they were going against Juventus.
Dolvetti is the referee
Last season. Well, he's one of the best, isn't he? Or
Yeah.
So hopefully nothing goes awry with that. But it's just it's one of these things. I mean, no matter what sport you're covering, when you talk about a rivalry and the hatred between these two clubs, I feel like anything could happen. Like, honestly, fellas, no outcome would shock me. I think it's going to be a close match, but whether it be like a 2-1 for Inter, or a 2-1 for Juve, or a 1-1, 2-2 draw with maybe a dodgy penalty in the mix somewhere, nothing would shock me. I'm going to make the pick in this one of a 2-2, and I think it's going to be which is also very typical for this fixture. You tend to have it where you get a dramatic game-tying goal late, like in stoppage time. I'm kind of thankful that Dybala is no longer part of Juventus, because he usually gets those goals against Inter, nearly at the death. But I think I could see this game being one where Inter feels like they're in control, 2-1 lead, and then stoppage time, you get a strange penalty or just like a deflected goal gets scored, and both teams end up sharing the points in this one. So I'm going to go with that. And I think Brozovic will probably be on the bench for this one. I expect Çalhanoğlu to get the start here. Your boy, who's been doing pretty well, he's probably going to start this one. Hopefully Barella can make some more magic happen, and Lautaro, this is the type of environment he usually thrives in. So I think Inter will play well, but I'm not guaranteeing or expecting any sort of a result here. I think this is going to end up being probably these teams sharing the points.
Richard, Juve, Inter.
Yeah, I think this is a derby, and it's going to be a tight game, especially early on. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than Interisti want to see. Juve have no right to be in this game, but they will, because it's a derby. It's a big game, and I think early on it'll be very close. But I expect, I know Alex is superstitious here, but I expect Juve to finally turn it on in the second half, and I think they win. I'm going to say they win 3-1. You don't expect this Allegri, but old Allegri, I would say, yeah, you're right. It's going to be a close game. He's going to bottle this. But they have nobody going forward. They might not have Vlahovic for this game.
Yeah, but Chiesa, yes.
Inter have been doing well. Correa scored a fantastic goal recently. He's finding his form. Lautaro is good. I know Lukaku's not there, but Barella is back in the form of 2020. Somebody in the chat mentioned that. I say Inter win 3-1, and I say the pressure is going to be so hard on Allegri at the moment to get him out of there. But I expect Inter to win this game handily, easily.
Your mouth to God's ears. I'm way too superstitious to co-sign on that, but I'll take it.
Man, I can't pick a winner in this game. This one's got me stumped because I can look at it a bunch of different ways. We got to see Chiesa get a run out. I don't see him starting in this game. I see Allegri being pragmatic to start the game and then using them when – and we talked about these big games where managers now have 5 substitutions and will be more pragmatic to start the game. And I think that Allegri will be the more pragmatic of the two and try to bog things down and try to invite Inter to possess it. Okay, you've gotten better in terms of possessing the ball and creating off of possession. Let's see how good you really are. Okay, try to close the spaces, try to deny some things, and then see if they can try to go the other way. You've got Kostic and Cuadrado that can counter and can pump balls into Milik. I don't think Vlahovic is going to play in this game. So you have that dynamic working for you. Now, how is Inzaghi going to counter that? You could see Dumfries starting on the right-hand side and say, just get high. The best way for us to deal with Kostic is get high and wide and pin him back. Because if he's back there, he can't hurt us going forward and crossing the ball. So you could see a lot of that. I think this comes down to who wins the midfield battle. And right now, the way these two teams are situated, there isn't a midfield stopper between these two teams. If it was, it's Brozovic. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of looseness there. There's going to be a lot of space there. And as much as I have dogged Juve for their midfield, I actually think that Allegri will get this game in his script, 0-0 for a long period of time. Chiesa comes on, makes his adjustments as the game goes. I'm going to go and plug your ears, Alex. Juve 1, Inter 0. I think it's going to be tense. It's going to be tight. I think that Martinez gets played out of the game. I think that they figure out how to crowd him out. If it's Correa or if it's Dzeko starting alongside him, they'll get their chances. Yeah. But I think in the end, I think that Allegri, who is the more experienced, maybe their experience is about the same. But I think Allegri will just out-tactic Inzaghi enough to win this 1-0.
No faith in the 5'2" Barella, Frank. All right, Alex, I know.
I have faith that he's going to run at the referee a lot.
Oh, yeah. At least it's not Orsato.
It's a given. Oh, yeah, thank goodness. I don't know if Orsato's allowed to referee this particular fixture anymore. I think he's barred from it.
Alex, I know you got to run, but maybe Juve win 1-0, and we can see a bit. Where can our followers find you on social media?
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, you see Twitter handle right down there. Alex Donno, Donno is how you spell it. Follow me there. I'll tweet some about Inter, and I'll tweet some about a lot of different things that you may or may not be interested in seeing. So follow me there. And I'm about to do some hockey, gentlemen. We got I'm going to be doing pregame intermissions and postgame for the Florida Panthers, who are going to keep me up very late at the San Jose Sharks. So I will talk to everyone later.
Forza Penguins.
Alex.
See you, Alex.
Have a good night, bud. All right, so we've exhausted it all, Richard, and now for the moment that everybody's been waiting for, it is time for the world's most popular hashtag game. Who won Calcio? Twitter, lead us off.
All right, starting it off this week, it's Uncle Sharma bringing it back. It's what Barcelona put out before the game, and it's Barca still banning Inter colors in a game versus Bayern Munich. So you see all these recommendations against the Bayern Munich game, and if you look down at the fifth bullet point, I'm trying to count right there, it says you're not allowed to bring any signs with the Inter logo on it. Why would the Inter logo be at the Bayern versus Barcelona game? I don't know, but they are clearly traumatized by Barcelona or by Inter, and so they still don't want you to have Inter logos at the game.
Oh, man, Napoleonismo came through once again. Delict all-timer performance versus Lewandowski while Juve defenders were begging for their life against Joao Mario.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
How many more times can he win? That's the leader in the clubhouse, right?
I know, right? This comes from Violismo, and it's what game was this? This is Juventus game against whoever. What down 1-0, and it's okay. No excuses here. We can still recuperate here. 1-1. Okay, we're good. We're tied. 2-1. Okay, well, what the hell is going on here? 3-1. Okay, I'm freaking out here. And then 4-1, and then this is him freaking out.
That's like the Italian Ray Hudson.
Yes.
Doesn't he kind of look like him?
Freaking out, down 4-1. Juve down 4-1.
Nice.
Oh,
let's see. At Anfield, Rajat15 is nominating Anfield. This is not a Calcio one, but it is worth noting. I mean, Liverpool did beat Manchester City, and Klopp is...
The graphics are just good.
You can't beat my boy Jesse Marsh, Felicani, getting it done against Liverpool.
Oh, that was pretty funny. Non-Calcio though, but this is Calcio related, sort of. A former missus of ours, Wayne Gerard with a tweet, and so as we know, Insigne and Bernardeschi are now at TFC, Toronto FC. Bernardeschi happened to go to the Toronto Raptors game, and they put up on the board, and the announcers even said, "Hey, Lorenzo Insigne is here." No, that's Bernardeschi.
Oh no. Man, Bernardeschi even goes all the way to Canada to get disrespected.
Oh my goodness.
All right. El Chiringuito in English. Welcome to El Chiringuito in Italian. Here is the Real Madrid half of the show singing or trying the Inter anthem after the Italian side knocked out Barcelona.
Yeah. all the Spanish guys are singing the Inter anthem after Barca lost or got eliminated. So the Real Madrid guys having fun, and the Barca guys are hating it.
We like that.
Oh, that's good. All right. Moving on. Apex nominated this one, and this comes from Fuente. It's Aero Pieno. And so Lazio originally tweeted this, and they're angry about the non-foul here. Clearly studs on Lazzaro's ankles. And so he says, Lotito's club starting beef with Lotito's other club is Peak City. That's good. That's good.
Ooh, I think that's it. That's a good. It's Aeroplano and Napoleonismo as we go. I got moved. Hold on. Okay, here we are. Okay, so at Totti's armband, UEFA Europa Conference League. At Totti's armband, welcome official SS Lazio director Italia Blas Roma. The Conference League is for losers like them. Well.
Don Totti in secret here with the UEFA Conference League, but it's well done, Don Totti. Well done, Don Totti. All right, moving on. This comes from Yanimo, and it's his timeline, and it's Juventus getting a medal here, celebrating, and they're finished in third place in the group. Europa League, bitches.
We like that. We like that, Yanable. Great stuff. Okay, and then finally, our friend Saturnian. There were Milan fans who thought Milan's starting midfield quality dropped. There's Frank Kessie going to the Europa League, while Sandro Tonali and Ismael Benacer were getting man of the match trophies. And going on to the next round, by the way.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I think we're down to Aeroplano and Napoleonismo.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think we're going Aeroplano. That was good.
Okay.
Napoleon, and I'm not doing this because Napoleonismo won too much. I'm not that kind of person. You know, I thought that was well played about the league outperforming the Juve defenders. So
yeah, the Madrid fans singing the Inter song to Barca fans was pretty good too. But yeah, I'll go with this. Lotito against Lotito. I like it.
Okay, let's see here. What is it? Anthony thinks it's Madrid fans singing Pazza. Madrid fans singing Pazza Inter. So
Dr. Frias said Insigne went to the Raptors match and grew 18 inches.
I think we'll go with Aeroplano on this one.
Yeah, that's good with me.
All right, so why don't you speak to the people while I get this taken care of?
Yeah, for those who are still with us after the whole is Lazio better than with or without Immobile? Yeah, definitely give us a follow on our YouTube page. If you haven't done so already, like, subscribe would mean a world to us as we put out more videos and clips and like that. Let us know what you want to see on our YouTube page outside of clips. We'll definitely want to bring more content that you guys want to watch. But yeah, follow us Instagram, Twitter. We already doing Twitter, but Facebook, all the goodies there. So, yeah.
All right. So Aeroplano, it didn't automatically come up.
It's all right. We'll figure it out.
Well, I'm assuming that this is his tag. So, I saw some new names there in the chat, Richard.
Yeah, it's good to have Art Morelli on there. I like to see him there.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are joining us and you're new, please, by all means, except for the 69 Girls bot, you don't need to do this. But the rest of you, subscribe, drop a like. That means a ton to us. But subscribe, please. That's huge for us. But drop a like and also click that notification bell so that you can be alerted whenever we are either going live or if we have a video drop for you. So please do that. So with that, we're going to put a bow on this edition of Serie A Sitdown. Richard, anything else to tell the people?
Nope. Just you can follow me if you want at R_KHARMAN. Yeah. You
can follow me at FTC_21. Alex is at AlexDonno, AlexDonno. Serie A Sitdown, we have our own channel on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever there is podcasts. There is Serie A Sitdown. At Serie A Sitdown on Twitter, Instagram. Follow us there. Give us comments. Nominate Who Won Calcio Twitter. If you find something that's good banter, hashtag Who Won Calcio Twitter. Please keep it clean. Don't be a dick. That's pretty much the only rules that we have. We want to have fun with it without having too much fun. I mean, yeah, banter at a fan base's expense, yes. Offending them, no, we don't want that.
Right.
So just so you know, so that we keep that thing going. So Tuesday night, keep everybody from watching these midterm election results.
I like it. I like it.
Give them a break. Let's come back Tuesday night. We'll break down these 3 big games that happen the rest of the weekend. We'll have a little bit of talk about, I think the draw is tomorrow, isn't it?
Monday. It's Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have reaction to the draw. We'll have all of that for you. So we will be back with you here live on the YouTube channel on Tuesday night, November the 8th. So for Alex, for Richard, I'm Frank. As always, be telling your paisans about us. Ciao.